There are so many things to like about the Triumph Bonneville Bobber. I feel like on this channel, historically, I've hated on it a good bit. And that's because, in my eyes, no motorcycle is perfect. Every motorcycle has its issue. And my goal here is to call out those issues so that people have a realistic idea of what they're getting themselves into. I want people to know exactly what they're going to get if they acquire the same motorcycle I happen to have, because sometimes you'll find channels that are either paid by the manufacturer or borrow bikes from dealers, so they're inclined to just highlight the positives. They're inclined to be really optimistic about a bike just so they can keep the checks rolling, just so they can keep the loaners coming. Nobody wants to loan somebody their motorcycle and then have them rip it to shreds. So a lot of times you'll get reviews that just aren't honest, that aren't the real deal. They aren't what you can really expect. They'll just conveniently leave off all the bad things about the motorcycle. Which way am I going? I don't know if this is 20 east and west. So I try not to do that. Every motorcycle I review, I buy with my own money, so I can be honest about how I feel about it. I think I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, I need to be going the other direction on this highway. I didn't even see a ramp for the other way. Maybe there isn't one. Anyway, I'll figure that out. But every motorcycle I have on this channel, I bought with my own money. They're my actual motorcycles, except for the ones that I borrow from friends, in which case they don't care if I rip their bikes to shreds. They didn't make the motorcycle. They're not personally responsible for how it behaves or anything. They aren't going to get offended if I'm like, this thing is absolutely garbage in these ways. They probably know. A lot of my friends have the same riding experience as me, so they tend to call out the same things that I call out, you know? So there's no secrets, there's no surprises. I like to just lay it real, lay it raw. Woo, a hair went in my mouth. Be real, be raw, and just give you a real true picture of what you can expect with whatever the given motorcycle is. And I did that with this bike, and it hurt a lot of people's feelings. A lot of people were really mad about me complaining about its range. People were mad about me complaining about its suspension or anything like that. There were so many comments of people being like, that's not what this bike is for, or of course it has a small gas tank, or of course it's uncomfortable, that's what it's for. And no. You can have a bike that's for around town that's comfortable still. You can have a bike for around town that has a realistic range. So I highlighted all those things that were wrong with it in my eyes, or I thought needed some work, because you'll see that sometimes people will complain about something and then the next version of that same bike will have it fixed. The manufacturer will hear those complaints and they'll correct it. And that is the case for the range with the Triumph Bonneville Bobber. The new ones have a bigger gas tank than mine has. So clearly they heard those complaints and they fixed it, you know? So that's why we're all here, to inform each other, to educate each other, to make more informed decisions, and to hopefully push the manufacturers to give us the best products physically possible. So I'm just doing my part in that. Honestly, with the factory Triumph tall bar kit and a little bit of a windscreen, this wouldn't be too bad on the highway. As long as there's no big bumps in your local highways, it really does just eat miles. It's cruising along at 83 miles an hour, pretty effortlessly. The revs aren't crazy high. It's got some roll on still. Let's see here. We're going just below 80 now. Let's roll on. It's pulling. It's not rocketing up there, but we just rolled on 6th gear to 90 miles an hour, over 90 miles an hour. We're approaching 100 miles an hour with ease. Nice linear power delivery. The fueling on this motorcycle is beautiful. I know I just keep raving about this motor, but really Triumph got it right on this one. And when you're going straight, the seating position isn't too bad. It's just because you can kind of straighten up your back and kind of get in a good position. It's just the bars really should be here for me to be comfortable. That would be nice, or even that would be pretty beautiful. Yeah, definitely needs taller bars for me. Everybody always asks how tall I am. I feel like I got to start pointing that out in videos, but I am 5'11", about 190-ish pounds right now. I think 193 is what I weighed in this morning. I've got a 32-inch inseam, and I am devastatingly handsome. But yeah, those are my specs if you're trying to compare yourself to me for how you'll fit. This is kind of what I look like on this thing. I honestly do think, oh, I beat my cheek a little bit there. I'm wearing a brand new helmet because I recently cut my hair and my helmet size changed, but you know those brand new pads, they just push your cheeks in so much that I keep biting the inside of my cheek, and bleh, I hope this thing breaks in soon because I keep embarrassing myself on camera. But yeah, this is kind of how I fit the bike. I do think I'm a little too big for it. It's okay for like short jaunts or for fun. It's cool. It kind of feels kind of sport bikey, you know, like where you're kind of dwarfing the thing, but you're like one with the machine. It's like that, except the bars put you in a really non-commanding position. If I slid the seat back, because the seat is adjustable, right now it's pretty far forward. If I moved it all the way back and put the little clip-ons on here to get more of like a race tuck situation, I think it could be really good. I think I could actually have a really good time with it, honestly, especially on a twisty road, except for the pegs touch down pretty quickly. And the problem with the pegs for me is they touch down and they're so small that my boot kind of hangs over. And I've had a situation where I'm like in an off-camber turn and the ground actually made contact with my boot instead of the pegs because of how far I was leaned over at the specific angle with the road, and it just snatched my foot off the bike. Luckily, I'm kind of a pretty confident rider, and I was on top of things and I could rescue it, but it definitely got me like all jostled out of control. And if I wasn't completely on my game, I could have gone down over that. So if you're going to ride this bike aggressively, I would kind of research maybe extending the pegs a little bit, or getting something like maybe mini floorboards, or something that's going to get your foot completely on there so you're not like dangling off. But that also might be me. I wear a size 11 shoe. My boots are big enough to where my heels rest on the exhaust sometimes. Pretty much all the time I'm on the exhaust. Like you can see right there, my foot is sitting on the exhaust naturally. I have to like hover, kind of like be on the balls of my feet with my heels up to not do that. But if I relax, both feet are on the exhaust heat shields. Just in every single way, I feel like I'm just a little too large for this bad boy. But you know, that's okay. That's okay. I'm making do. I have been making do. It's been a few months with the bike, and ultimately I like it, but I don't love it, you know. I think sometimes the issue with the motorcycle is it'll be a lot of fun. Like you'll go out and you'll ride it and you'll blast around on it. It'll be such a good time, but objectively it's just not a good fit for you. Like this bike is really fun. Every time I get on it and just crank the throttle, like woo, I love it. I like the sound of it. I like the feel of it. But ultimately, this is a $9,000 motorcycle, and it's not checking all the boxes for me. A lot of the boxes are being checked like better from the other motorcycles I own. Like you guys have seen in the last few videos, I did buy a Harley Davidson Dyna, and it's doing most of the things I need a motorcycle to do way better for me than this is. What this does that bike doesn't do is just feel sporty, you know? That bike is better at touring, it's better at carrying a passenger, it has better fuel economy, it has better fuel range, it's more comfortable, it is easier on the highway. It does like all the things I do. I go long distance touring, I go get groceries and stuff on a motorcycle, I carry a passenger. All of that is way better on the Harley. The things that the Harley doesn't do generally are feel sporty and go off-road. This does feel more sporty, but not $9,000 more sporty, you know? I could very easily go buy a $4,000 Ninja 300 or Ninja 400 and have like an actual sport bike. Something that I can lean over in the mountains and have a good time with. As far as feeling sporty, this one feels more sporty going straight. But as soon as you lean it over and those pegs touch down, you realize that the Harley actually has better ground clearance and is actually more competent. It's just kind of a hog, so it takes you a little bit. You have to like muscle it around. You have to be really competent, like leaning over a bike that's that heavy with that big of an engine in it. But like I said, this bike isn't $9,000 better at being a sport bike. So why have it? It doesn't do anything actually better. You could argue it looks better, but that's really it. So it makes more sense for me and what I currently own to sell this and get something that is completely different than the Harley, or check some boxes that the Harley absolutely does not check. The Harley is not a sport bike, so buying a sport bike makes sense, you know? I mentioned the Ninja 300 and 400 because they're just like entry-level cheap bikes. I'm a pretty cheap person in general. You guys know that if you watch my videos. I don't like dropping a bag on motorcycles. I like it to be as cheap as possible. So those are ones that are on my radar. And then the other thing that I like to do on a motorcycle is go off-road. And the Harley cannot go off-road. So I've been thinking about some bikes that can go off-road. You guys know I love the Van 200, I love the Honda Trail, I love the KTM 390 Adventure, the BMW G310 GS, the Kawasaki Versys X300, the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Those are all bikes that really appeal to me and my riding style. I like just exploring off-road. I'm not like a like blasting down single track kind of guy. I'm definitely like an explore off-road, go slow, pick my line kind of guy. So all those bikes are really tempting to me. So that's kind of where my head is at as far as what should replace the Bonneville Bobber. I love going off-road. I love going up to the mountains and just kind of leaning into the turn. So finding something that does one of those two things better is kind of where my head is at and where I want to be. So which route do you guys think I should take? As far as I see it, there's three general categories for what I think should be next. One is just going with a lightweight kind of entry-level sport bike, something like a Duke 390, Ninja 300, Ninja 400, maybe a Yamaha R3, though I don't love Yamaha that much. CBR 250R 300, something like that. Something that'll just be more fun in the mountains. I just did that mountain run with a bunch of really good friends the other day, and I'd like to do that more often, but the Harley wasn't really great for the job. So should I get something like that? That way I can lean over more in the turns and have a better pace, maybe do some track days, maybe go to Tail of the Dragon. That's option number one. Option number two is super lightweight adventure bike. Something like the KTM 390 Adventure, BMW G310 GS, the Kawasaki Versus X300, which is really high on my list, so hopefully you guys say that. But I could do something like that. It's just like a lightweight adventure bike and kind of go off-road in that sense. Go off-road with something that's just about highway capable. So I can cruise down the highway to wherever trails I find and go do that. Maybe go up to North Georgia still, or go up to the Smoky Mountain 500, that sort of deal. Or should I go like super lightweight adventure bike, something like the Van 200, maybe the KLX 300, or the CT 125 from Honda, the Honda Trail there. Just same thing, bob around town on something super light so I can just go back to my roots of like finding trails, but with something a little bit more competent than the Versus was off-road. Those are my three categories. What do you guys think is best? What would you guys like to see on the channel? Comment down below, let me know what you think. I will take your opinions into account since you guys are the ones watching these videos. I'm making these videos for you, so let me know what you want to see down below. I will say the ownership experience with this bike was pretty eye-opening. The Bonneville T100 was my first Triumph, and I thought the transmission was really smooth, but otherwise I thought everything was pretty cut right on it. I wouldn't go that far. I'll say that the paint was nice, like the fit and finish was nice, but the power was lacking, the suspension was lacking, the brakes were lacking, like all the core parts just were kind of disappointing, you know. I thought it looked good, I thought the transmission was smooth, but a lot of the other stuff was lacking. So I kind of was bummed out on Triumph, but the transmission was really good, like I said, and there are a lot of, it's not even so much the transmission as it is the fueling, I guess, but it was really smooth and buttery in that sense. So I liked the way a lot of the other bikes look, so I figured I'd give them a second chance, and this was that second chance, and it really inspired me to like try more of their products. There's a lot to love about this bike. The baseline Bonnevilles are not that great in my opinion, at least the year model I had, but this is pretty good. So I'm excited to try some of their more kind of like premium offerings and just see how good it can be. That's not on the table for me right now, just because I'm not in the market for something like that, but someday I would really like to try, I'd like to try out a Tiger, I'd like to try out a Scrambler, I would also like to try out a Speed Triple. There's models in their lineup that I think would be really good for me, so I want to try them out later on in life, when circumstance changes. But for right now, I gotta hang up my Triumph hat for a little bit and just try some other things out. I'm gonna try this Harley life for a while. I'm gonna try some other stuff, but for right now, I'm gonna take a break on Triumph, though I do really like their products, I think. I also rode the Trident after getting this. I've ridden the Trident a lot, and the Trident's pretty good. It also has some shortcomings, but overall, I'm kind of digging what they're doing over at Triumph. I'm sure someday I'll miss this thing. I'll miss doing this right here. Woo! And hearing... I'll miss hearing that bark when I crank a throttle, that's for sure. Our time was like sweet, honestly. Triumph Bonneville Bobber, we had some good times together. You will be missed, but not that much. I'll be way more excited for what's next, that's for sure. But good while you lasted.